Hi Pirates! Our last AP free response type are particles. And before we try to answer an AP question, I thought it might be helpful to do a little bit of particle review. So let's go all the way back to the beginning and say that S of t is equal to position. Okay, this actually was an application of derivatives, but it kind of flows over into integrals as well. If S of t was equal to position, and here's my physicists, my divas, then the first derivative was equal to velocity. My second derivative, hopefully you recall, which is the derivative of velocity, if I was given a velocity equation, is acceleration. Okay, so all of those things you would probably want to find first, given your equation, so that you could use them. And all questions are calculator questions this year, so you can always plug it into your derivative. So now let's talk about what velocity tells us. If we have velocity, we can answer the question of when is my particle stopped? My particle is going to be stopped when its velocity is equal to 0. Let's talk about maybe moving to the right or sometimes moving up. This we will think of as a positive velocity. So we would need to do a little bit of algebra solving or maybe graphing on our calculator. If we want to move left or down, depending on the particle, my velocity would be negative. Questions that get a little tricky are when they ask us, is this particle speeding up? We often think about speed as just velocity, the absolute value, but if something is speeding up, my velocity and my acceleration need to be working together, which means they are the same signs. So they're either both positive or both negative. We are slowing down when our velocity and our acceleration are working against each other. So in that case, one would be positive, one would be negative. They are opposite signs. And last but not least, we can kind of figure out things like displacement. Displacement is, at the end of the day, 0, as we recall. This would be the accumulation of velocity. Or we can talk about distance. Distance is like the odometer on our cars, which are not really getting a lot of action right now. That would be the accumulation of everything in a positive direction. So I'm going to use my absolute value to make everything positive. If I wanted to figure out my final position, it's very similar to our rates question. It's going to be the initial position plus my displacement, or the accumulation of velocity. So there's a quick refresher on particles. Next up, let's see if we can come up with an AP question.